confused or incorrect.
Okay, first off, you shouldn't be wearing a mask. Everybody's been vaccinated. No one's near you. You see, just a big misunderstanding, former Secretary of State John Kerry said, once again lying about his dealings with Iran's foreign minister, perhaps. The former Secretary of State testifying today that he did not leak Israeli secret operations to Syria to Iran's top diplomat. Meanwhile, Kerry was evasive about his meetings with Zarif, but if we learned anything from this hearing, it's that he has trouble remembering stuff. For example,
did you meet with Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif in Munich during the Munich Security Conference in February 2019?
I don't know if I met with him in 2019. I don't have a recollection of 2019.
You don't remember the year.
With him. I know I met with him. I know I met with him in 2018, and I met with him. I think twice in 2018 and twice in 2017. I recall meeting him. I just can't remember exactly which year.
Yeah, I know how that gets. Remember, he does remember having a beer with Russian conspiracist theory Adam Schiff. Remember Adam Schiff?
Do you recall having an extended conversation with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff at the Munich Security Conference?
I think we had a beer.
Well, he was spotted in the hall without beer. A guy that would rather have a beer right now, but he has pledged to talk to me first, is Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, is it possible to remember what happened in 2018 and not in 2019?
Well, I think it's impossible to say you don't remember if you met with a foreign minister of another country. And I think the answer to that, if it was, you could say, look, I'm not sure if it was in Munich, I'm not sure if it was in 2018, but I know I met with them on several occasions. Those meetings happened, and I guarantee you they weren't talking about the Yankees or the state of play in the National Football League. I mean, there's only one thing the two have in common, and the one thing they have in common is the Iran deal. And if I were to bet what he was saying in those meetings, it was, listen, don't hold on, this guy's not going to be president in 2.5 or 3 years. A new administration will come in and set these things right. I think that's what those meetings are about. I can't prove it. I don't think anyone can. But, you know, what else would they be talking about? It's the only thing they have in common.
For the first time in 4 years, we have wild bombings and missile strikes on both sides between Israel and the Palestinians. Is this a coincidence?
Well, look, I think there's a lot of factors that played into it, but ultimately what you have here is a situation where Hamas wants to prove they're stronger than the Palestinian Authority, and they've launched, I think, over 1,000 rockets. It's the biggest barrage we've ever seen from them, and they're indiscriminate firing, right? I mean, they're just firing into Tel Aviv, firing at the airport, firing into Jerusalem, and people talk about the Israeli response. You know, the Israeli response in most cases is they actually do that roof knocking, right, where they drop non-explosives to warn people. They even call people. They actually canceled schools in Gaza so that kids wouldn't be in these buildings. But the fundamental problem that's happening over there is that Islamic Jihad and Hamas, they have no problem putting the operation sites, the missile sites, right next to a nursery or a hospital or a residential building. I mean, and so at the end of the day, I don't care what happened on the ground in Jerusalem, the response cannot be 1,000 rockets fired into civilian areas.
Senator, why don't you take a look at a tweet by Ilhan Omar, and it just shows you President Biden might have one opinion, but a lot of people in his caucus have a different opinion. She tweeted out this: Israeli airstrikes killing civilians in Gaza is an act of terrorism. Palestinians deserve protection. Unlike Israel, missile defense programs such as Iron Dome don't exist to protect them. It's unconscionable to not condemn these acts on the week of Ayed. I guess that's the way you say it. Is she right?
She's out of her mind when she put that there. Number one is the Iron Dome wouldn't need to exist if it wasn't for Hamas and Hezbollah. The reason it exists is because these terrorists have rockets and they use it to try to kill Israelis. That's the reason why it exists. Number two is the only response that you've seen from Israel is in response to these attacks. And they live in a very tough neighborhood, and they made abundantly clear, if you hit us, we're going to hit you back 5 times harder. And Hamas knows that. This is a plan, okay? They do this knowing there's going to be a response, knowing that innocents are going to be killed and civilians are going to be killed. They know it's going to happen, and they deliberately want it to happen so they can get tweets like that and people around the world to take up their cause. These are an organization that pays bonuses, which, by the way, was just restored, you know, giving back money to the Palestinian Authority and through them as well, Hamas. If you are a martyr, as they call it, if you kill yourself by trying to go after the Israelis, they pay your family a stipend for the rest of their lives. They pay them a martyr's benefit. If you go to jail for trying to kill or killing an Israeli, when you get out, they promise you a job, they promise you a pension, and they take care of your family while you're in there. They create financial incentive for these attacks. Both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, those are the terrorists.
With no strings attached, we restored their money. That's what you're referring to, that stopped over the last 4 years because of their terrorist acts and irresponsibility generally in both the West Bank as well as Gaza. Let's go back to John Kerry for a second. You know, he is the climate czar, and he wants the #1 polluter, China, to start stepping to the table. They're not. Big shocker. But he also admitted this about who makes solar panels and the ones that we might be buying. Listen.
How can you assure us or ensure that this quest that we're on, that slave labor coming out of China, where genocide is taking place as we speak, are never a part of the climate solution in the United States?
It is a problem. The Xinjiang province not only produces some of the solar panels that we believe are being, in some cases, produced in forced labor by Uyghurs.
He calls it a problem. It's a problem.
No, it's not a problem. It's a catastrophe. It's a humanitarian catastrophe. It's an outrage. It's genocide. They are being produced, and not just that, but all kinds of apparel. We have American corporations that are profiting from this as well, from the cheap and free labor provided through slave labor of Uyghur Muslims in the Xinjiang region of China. It's absolutely a fact that it's happening, and it is an outrage.
If we know that, how should Americans feel about buying, for example, two companies, H&M and Nike, who have spoken up about this and got slapped down by the Chinese government? What should we know about companies like that getting their products made from people who are basically in the middle of genocide?
Well, we shouldn't have products like that coming into the United States and into our market. It's as simple as that. I actually have a bill that helps achieve that. We shouldn't have it. It's a simple, straightforward. I don't care who the company is. Move your factory somewhere else. But no American corporation, or any corporation for that matter, should be profiting off of the slave